Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear us this time. We tried connecting microphones, which didn't go well the first time. So, if you see that live that says week 4, it's maybe about 20 seconds long. That is not the right one. That is something I'm going to have to delete. But welcome. I hope everyone here feels welcome. Today, we are on our week 4 of self worth. This is our last week of self worth. But I want to preface that self worth is a foundational thing, so it will be talked about throughout this whole thing. It'll be talked about each week, most likely. But this will be our last week focusing on self worth, and we are going to learn how to live out our self worth. Our self worth between week 1 and 3, I think is crucial and something that we need to go back and watch. But if you're here today, I still encourage you to stay and listen. But I still encourage to go back and watch those other weeks, as they do have some good information in them. And then last thing before we get started is, remember, we have our Q&A Wednesdays every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. We have posted on our thumbnail an email that will be posted on our thumbnail. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's our Wednesday Q&A. Yes, our Wednesday Q&A from 4:30 to 5:30. I encourage you to join in, but beforehand, I also encourage you to send in some questions through hopeandanswer.com. We do have that on our thumbnail. I did get a little confused. That's why it may be a little choppy there. But yes, and I encourage you to send in some questions so we can answer them. But besides that, we can get into today. I have with me Gabby again today. She will be joining us majority of the time. And I wanted to start off with an icebreaker like I usually do. And I want you to think about your voice in your head, or you can call it your inner monologue. And I want you, the one that talks to you, constantly, your inner monologue. So if you were to give that inner monologue a personality, what would you give it? And if I were to think, I was talking to my friends about this one day last week, and I really liked what they said. It's like they have an inner monologue, and then but it's not just one, it's more of like a negative and a positive. And then they kind of have a neutral. We kind of talked about that. And so that's kind of where I'm heading, is my inner monologue. It can somehow or sometimes be lighthearted, and then sometimes it can be a little judgmental. And I'm not saying like judgmental to other people. I'm just saying more self-critical. That inner monologue could be, that I've noticed. Kind of like that devil and angel on the shoulder that I've brought up in previous episodes. But the way we talk to ourselves is a reflection of our self-worth. And so when I catch myself being judgmental or critical, or you could say the devil on the shoulder is talking, that's when I need to recognize it and put a piece of tape over their mouth. Because definitely not something that is going to be encouraging us. It's not how we respect ourselves at the end of the day. But if I were to answer that question, I would say I have a positive and a negative inner monologue, pretty much.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I kind of look at it. I like that you say positive and negative and not good or bad, because it's not necessarily like good or bad.
Yeah.
I like to think of my negative as more like self-sabotage, because I think that's basically all it is. So I definitely, my inner monologue for a long time was filled with a lot of self-sabotage, and I would always feel lots of shame.
Yep.
Which kind of rolls me into something that I was going to speak about, shame versus guilt,
Yes.
and how guilt is I did something wrong, and shame is there is something wrong with me. And so I feel like that inner monologue really will validate the feeling of shame, because
Yeah.
it's like you're doing something wrong, like where or you're not you're doing something wrong, you are wrong.
Yeah.
And guilt is like I'm doing something wrong, and I like to look at that as like more of like a guide, a signal, like for guilt. Like
Yep.
obviously, we don't. I think that guilt is there for good, but shame, no. Peace out.
No. Shame is an unwanted force, but guilt, I think, is something that we sometimes need in our lives.
Yes,
Some people do need guilt, and that's how we grow as people.
absolutely.
So it's definitely something that's normal, but the shame part is very detrimental to your health, can be.
It is. And I think like as moms too, when we tend to have that shame, it's really hard to show up from a place of nurturing, because you can't nurture something that you hate.
Right.
And we can nurture our kids. Obviously we don't hate our kids, but we also need to have that same nurturing for ourselves.
Absolutely. If we can't be our best selves, we can't do that for others. If we don't know our self-worth, we can't encourage others to have self-worth.
Yeah. And like a child, I truly believe, needs a mom who is not perfect, but knows that she's worthy and that she can still get it wrong in life.
Right. A person who makes mistakes but can overcome them, take accountability, and be better.
Yeah.
It's a great example. And that also has me thinking of the limitation that self-worth can have on you. If you don't understand your self-worth, there's a lot of limitation that you put on yourself.
Absolutely.
Like an example I heard from a person the other day was, I really wish I can go, but there's just too many people.
Yeah.
Hey, you can go. You put that wall up there yourself, which is not a boundary, by the way. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more of
you're scared, you have fear.
It's that fear. It's a wall of fear. It's not a wall of protection.
Yeah.
You're doing the opposite. It's kind of like the self-sabotage, where you think something's going to go a certain type of way, so you automatically put that, what you think is a wall of protection, but it's really your wall of fear. Yeah. And you can miss out on an opportunity or whatever that may be. I struggle with self-sabotage as well, so it's something that I've had to work through, is not limiting myself, saying, even doing something like this, not everyone's comfortable talking to the internet, because the internet can be millions of people.
Yes, absolutely.
It could be a handful of people or millions of people. The internet's scary. But the more you do anything, the easier it gets, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So just keep that in mind, that we need to speak life instead of limitation, because the more you limit yourself, the less experience you'll have in life. And I think experience is the richness in life, whether good or bad, because it's a teaching moment either way. And that's when I also want to get into relationships when it comes to self-worth. When you acknowledge your self-worth, you have healthy boundaries. And when I think of boundaries, I also think of confidence. When you are able to show up for yourself, put that boundary, show that you respect yourself, it gives you that sense of confidence. And it can also go both ways. You have that confidence in yourself, so you set healthier boundaries, because they just go both ways. They go hand in hand. And the big thing with relationships too that I found is, a lot of the time I find myself being like exhausted because I'm being taken advantage of in a way. And I guess one day I realized, like, do I really want to live this way? Because this is causing me some sort of stress. and it's unnecessary
Mm-hmm.
and it's not something I have to go through.
Yeah.
And, one day I was just like, I don't have to go through this. I can, take control of this situation and not manipulate it in the bad way, but manipulate it in the way that gives me an advantage and doesn't take an advantage away from anybody else. It's just a straight up boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also talking with somebody who has a significant other not too long ago, and we were talking about the difference in being controlling and having boundaries in a relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion, I feel like, when people, like my significant other doesn't like it when I go out with other people or with my friends. That's their boundary. I have to respect it. However, we have to look in two different perspectives, because is that person putting up that quote unquote boundary for your advantage or for theirs?
Yep.
Who's getting the advantage here?
And I think too, something that I would ask, because from a mom aspect, I was just talking to a teen, and something that I just, she's like, my parents create all these boundaries and I just feel like they don't trust me. And I often think about, like, people put up exactly like what you do, especially with significant others. And I see it a lot of times, I feel like, with other moms too, and myself. We set these quote unquote boundaries to try to control the other person, when in reality, we just need to take a step back and have some trust within ourselves that, for example, if our significant other is going out with other people, we're going to trust ourselves that when the circumstance arises that they might have overstepped a boundary, we're going to trust ourselves that we're going to take care of it in a way that we would love to show up in that relationship.
Exactly.
And address it. And I think that goes up, like, significant other, motherhood, friend, anything.
Yes.
Trusting yourself. I think sometimes when you're feeling that you need to create a boundary out of wanting to take advantage of someone or out of control, I would question, where is my trust going? Am I farming my trust out to this boundary?
And the amount of energy that is being put forward too, that's just, it's unnecessary energy and stress at the same time, because you're given sometimes an unrealistic expectation.
Yes.
That you have to feel like you have to try and you have to try to meet constantly, when that other person doesn't necessarily hold themselves to the same standard.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was talking about when it comes to, like, setting healthy boundaries. That'd be an example of not a healthy boundary. It'd be more of like the manipulation part.
Yep, manipulating.
Because what manipulating is you're using, I guess, emotion to try to get an advantage for yourself and a benefit for yourself. Sometimes that's with emotion, sometimes that's with other things, but there's definitely a big difference when it comes to relationships. Once I started fully understanding my self-worth, having those, it was easier for myself to put myself in their perspective of, I don't want you to hang out with these people or whatnot. And once I've kind of acknowledged my self-worth, I don't want that for people. I want people to thrive.
Yeah.
I want other people to thrive because I'm thriving.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the difference, is you have somebody who takes something to their advantage and says that they're doing it for their worth. And then you have other people who, I don't know exactly what I'm saying. I think it's kind of with the prideful thing, where you're trying to convince others of your self-worth more than actually acknowledging your self-worth. Because when I walk into a room, I try to I guess, unconditionally love everybody is what I could say.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference in that is they want people to unconditionally love them.
Okay, so
And
they're
that's
like
kind of
turning the
where I
light back
see
on
the
them. Yeah.
difference. And that's where, like, you can say, oh, that person's a little too prideful or boastful in that sense. And once I understood my self-worth and I was giving out that unconditional love to other people, and then I seen these other people who are trying to convince other people of their self-worth, it kind of clicked to me the difference in our choices. Like, our choices make a big difference. They aren't just something that's there. It kind of tells us a story sometimes
Yeah,
with choices.
this is so interesting. I think I was just talking to actually my dad a couple weeks ago, and not to pick on, I guess, our generation, but I'm going to pick
Hey,
on
go
our
ahead.
generation. And also the older generation, you know, they always talk about like the younger generation is so selfish.
Mhm.
And while I think that's true, I also think it's good to be selfish, and I kind of feel like that's what you're saying, but you're coming at it from like an unconditional love. Like our generation almost doesn't have the selfishness in the right place.
Yeah.
Like be selfish and wanting to unconditionally love yourself so you can show up better for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Not with bringing your phone to dinner. Like that'd be like a boundary. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
so I think like I don't not saying that I don't want to say like selfishness is bad, but I think when you show up from that place, like that can kind of I don't want to say like ruin your self-worth, but bring your self-worth down, I guess. Like you'll feel more down on yourself if you're being selfish in the way of, okay, I'm going to go buy $100 worth of clothes versus putting $100 worth of food on the table, I guess, kind of. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, I do know
Like
what you're talking
turning
about.
the light outward versus
Mhm.
inward.
Yeah, there's always I do know what you mean, because
Yeah.
selfish is looked at as like relatively a bad thing.
Yes.
But we can use selfishness to our advantage, and that's what a lot of people
Correct.
choose not to do.
Yes.
We
yes.
can use these negative stigmas or whatever you want to call them
Mm-hmm.
to our advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
that's honestly the trick that I used. I've sat back and I've been like, okay, this is selfish, but I'm not. This may be selfish on my part, but I'm sorry, you're going to have to find a way to work because I can't take you every day.
Right.
You know, just things like that.
And that's like
In my
choosing
perspective.
yourself
Right.
over, that is choosing yourself over someone else. And that's not to say that you can't be caring or loving or showing up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're having to put that boundary in place of, okay, I'm going to be selfish in creating a boundary for me because you have your goals in life. And as moms, we also, I think, have our goals in life. Probably our main goal is to raise good, decent human beings.
Yep.
And so putting those boundaries in place it goes kind of back to boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
but then it also
everything can go into boundaries.
Yeah.
Truly. But that kind of goes into, how does knowing your worth change what kind of relationship you accept?
Mm.
And I was thinking about this a long time last night, because I created this whole kind of like scenery of how to explain it. And it's like you're in the ocean, and everyone who chooses not to swim sinks, right? You sink down. You don't have anything to go by. You don't have any boundaries. You're just sinking. You're letting yourself sink with everybody else. And so realistically, are you going to be friends with people who are choosing to swim or people who are sinking with you?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to realistically choose the people who are sinking with you, because those are the people you can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you choose to swim up and you're working for yourself, no matter how far you've sank, you're choosing to swim up, and you grasp the people that are swimming up with you,
Mm-hmm.
because they're also swimming up. You relate to them in that sort of aspect. And that's kind of how I see relationships. When I was down sinking with the rest of my friends, and I wanted to swim up and they wanted to stay down, I had to leave them there. I can't make that choice for everybody.
Yes.
And that was a big thing for me. It's because I was friends with somebody for 5 years. And she was, I knew everything about her. She knew everything about me. But when it came to like personal development, I was choosing to grow and she wasn't. And in that aspect, I don't think anybody is wrong or anybody is bad, but we're just not on the same page anymore.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think
No.
it means that person's worse than this person. I just think we're not on the same wavelength anymore. You're maybe not my cup of tea anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But in those aspects, when I am swimming up, I can't let you drag me down.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
that will happen. And once you're, the next question is, what happens when you forget your worth? How does that affect friends or dating lives? And with that same example, if you're up above the water and you're treading water, it's hard because that's what life is. You have to continue to tread. You have to choose to continue to keep going. You can choose to stop. But
yeah. And just to circle back real fast on that, there does come up, especially in the beginning days. I don't know if you felt like this with personal development, but
yeah.
It was hard, and especially in the mom world too.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about that's not my cup of tea, there's like so many stigmas in the mom world. And so I felt like there was a lot of people that I had to let sink, and not in a bad, negative way, but I just
No.
had to like be like, okay, this is no longer how I want to raise my kid or be around. So I had to choose differently. And sometimes it feels really lonely, and sometimes it's really hard when you'll try not to be around those people and they come around. And so like tying into your next question, like what happens when you forget your worth, like your brain has to almost like, it's like building a muscle up. Like you have to remind yourself constantly, and over time it'll get easier, but in those
Definitely.
beginning days it will be hard.
Just like working out.
Yes, absolutely.
You feel it the next
Yes,
day.
yes.
The more you do it, the less you feel it.
For sure.
But the more you're improving at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. But to circle back, when you are afloat and you are treading and you are trying to stay afloat and you have these connections, you have all these ropes to all these other people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people who are afloat still choose to sink down.
Mm-hmm.
And in those times, encouragement and being supportive is, something you're going to want to do. But if they're continuously choosing to swim down, that's just when you have to kind of lose that connection.
Yep.
And that's just what happens.
It's normal.
But same if you're the one who chose to swim down. It's
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect people to swim down with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just your life, it's their life too.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people who struggle with that, thinking that them not being friends with that person is selfish. And, sometimes that person does hold them to that. You're selfish. You're a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you just chose not to be friends with me.
Yeah.
Teenage stuff.
Yeah. Hey, it happens in the mom world too, still to this day.
Everyone has to learn.
I feel like some of the teenage stuff that you thought, oh, when I'm an adult, I'll never have to deal with. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Still dealing with some of that.
Yeah, some people choose not to grow for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And then one more question I wanted to go over. This is a Q&A question for you. And that is, how do I know if I'm setting healthy boundaries or being selfish, which is kind of going hand in hand with what we're talking about. I was thinking about this more in like a mother aspect, so that's why I kind of gave you that question. But how do I know I'm setting healthy boundaries or if I'm being selfish when it comes to motherhood?
Okay. That's hard
That is a
because
hard
I
question.
feel like I'm going back to it being selfish. I think when I think of being selfish, if I like in my brain, I'm like, when I'm trying to decipher, selfish would be like, is this only benefiting me for my good? I guess, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. Yeah. Like I would say like, and is it hurting someone else? Like, am I putting someone else at hurt? For
Yes.
example, tonight, I was going to bring my son along with me.
Yeah.
And his dad randomly decided to say that he was going to take him.
Okay.
And so like I really selfishly wanted to say like, no, like I already had this planned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you already said no. But I kind of like went back on that because like in a selfish way, like I didn't want to because I wanted to have him hurt. But I can't like punish him for that.
Right.
For his decision.
You're
Yeah.
logically thinking.
So I was like, you can have him. You can take him and enjoy him for the night. And so like that, I think like, you know, my boundary typically is no, you didn't contact me by X time. But it was, you know, a minute until. And so selfishly I wanted to say like no, but my boundary is like I have this X time that you're, you know, by 1:00 you're gonna message me and let me know if you're gonna take the kid. And it was like 12:59. So like that would be selfish.
Right.
To say no, it's 12, you know.
Uh-huh.
He texted me at 12:59, I saw it at 1:10. Like that, like you
Yeah.
just can't. That's selfish.
Yeah. So the big difference I'm hearing is definitely not going based off of emotion all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely sitting and having logic through things.
Not wanting to hurt other people. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And selfishness is hard. I think everything has exceptions
Yes, it does.
and loopholes. I think a lot of people, I struggled with that too. I thought everything was set in stone.
Yes. Black
So,
and white.
Set in stone. So,
Yes.
oh, I'm not driving you to work now, so I'm a selfish person. So
Yeah.
I'm the worst person in the world.
Yes, yes.
There's exceptions to everything and grace for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely nothing is set in stone. This is life. This is things that we've learned throughout life.
For sure.
So it's definitely not set in stone. And that kind of goes into our choices as well, is the decisions we make is based off of like our worth that we have. Our worth influences it basically. And it influences who we hang around, how we use our time, what opportunity we go after. And I wrote that down specifically because when I was growing, I brought this up earlier, I was outgrowing people. I was, and it's not a bad thing. Everyone grows at their own pace and, they choose to grow when they want to grow. But when I did outgrow those people, I had to make the decision to not hang around them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I hung around them, I'm going to end at the same result.
Yes.
That's not something I want. I want to improve. It doesn't mean that what they're doing is necessarily bad or wrong. It's just, it doesn't fit in my lifestyle. It doesn't align in my lifestyle anymore.
Sure.
And that's what I mean by the decisions we make. Once I acknowledged my worth and what I wanted and what I valued, I aligned it with life, with the people I hung around, the decisions I made, what I did with my time.
And that's like a positive selfishness.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a positive selfishness, but it's my example of, your choices.
Yes.
Choices are everywhere, and you base them off of your values that you have, but that also starts with acknowledging your self-worth, because it's the worth and your boundaries and your values, and that ties into the decisions you make. And I've talked about this throughout all 4 weeks, so hopefully we have a good understanding of that.
And you're obviously having to be intentional with that, with those decisions, because it's not like you just wake up one morning and you're like, okay, I'm done hanging out with them.
Nope.
Like, no, it had to take some serious intention.
And serious step, because doing something like that is scary. It's
Yeah.
definitely scary because you know what you're going to do, but you're kind of fearful of the afterwards because there's the darkness. You don't know.
Yeah.
Or you could be lonely and you could
I was
know
going to
that.
say lonely. Yeah. And like that is okay to feel and be around.
It is definitely okay to feel lonely, and it definitely took me a long time to be okay to be by myself.
Yes.
A lot of people struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's not in our human nature to be by ourselves, but it very much is.
It is.
Everybody needs their alone time.
I struggled with that after my divorce, and actually really in my divorce, I struggled with it. And then I really acknowledged it and accepted it going through the divorce process. And then eventually, like, it was like some codependency. So I had to, kind of cut that off. And sometimes even with my son, I can have a little bit of codependency, or he feels like my security sometimes if we're out in public or whatever. So
yes. And that's where I wanted to talk about your fear-based decisions and your confidence-based decisions. I think they can go hand in hand, because when you do something big that's going to be achieving in the long run, it's scary. So it's something you can fear, but it's not something you need to have confidence in necessarily. But having confidence in your decisions make it more intentional, and it makes it more, I don't want to say worthy, but when you have confidence in your decisions, it makes your decisions more firm. That's a good word.
Yeah, I think more firm.
So definitely your choices matter.
And I think too, when you're making those choices and you don't feel confident, I just ask yourself, what result do you want in your life? Because I think that's where we can find, when we're not confident in the choice, sometimes, like, I think about like some of the reasons why a mom might have to change a job or something. And I had to go through a job change this year, and I just had to remind myself of the result I wanted, because I was not confident in doing it, but
not at all.
It's been the best thing.
Yep.
So,
and when those things happen and we maybe don't feel good about them in the moment, we have to kind of tell ourselves, which sucks sometimes, but it is what it is.
Yes.
Sometimes life, it is what it is. And to dwell on it for being what it is what it is, you can spiral, definitely go crazy.
It's a waste of your energy.
Definitely. It's once you learn to take the hit and you're allowed to feel the emotions. I actually think it's a good thing to feel the emotions. You're supposed to. You're not supposed to act on them necessarily in a bad way, but you can use that emotion towards something you're passionate about too. Instead, especially if you struggle with that impulse, I struggled a lot with impulse in my emotions, where like maybe you'd get too angry and it's just like, screw my boundaries. I'm going to hurt your feelings.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in my teenage years.
Definitely something I recently, in the last few years, got over. Is talking like that. But that's where I want to get into choices. And if you were to think about the choices that you made in the past, was there a choice that you made that you felt different? You felt like you believed in yourself when you made that choice instead of doubting yourself? And I did that a lot, where any choice I made, I kind of made it because I knew I kind of had to go that way, but I didn't do it. I didn't choose it for myself. And a good example is like when I signed up for college. That's something that was scary, but it's something that I did for me. And any time that I would make those decisions and get a good grade, it wasn't necessarily for me. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for the approval of others. And going and doing the work and putting in the college application and doing the things I need to do for it, doing it for me, it gives me more of a purpose. You have a purpose when you learn to do things for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time I was kind of lost, and I would say I was doing things for myself, but I was also chasing kind of like that dopamine. A lot of people don't, I was also talking about this today, a lot of people don't talk about how your brain reacts to dopamine and certain things. Like if you have just a little thing every day that rises your dopamine.
Okay, scrolling social media.
Yeah. that alters your brain. Your brain becomes excited for it the next day.
Absolutely.
And when you don't have it, your brain gets sad. That's what dopamine is. Dopamine is just a happy chemical. And when, especially people with addictive personality disorders or people with like more exposure to have an addiction, the dopamine is something really big. Even something as small as
being addicted to food,
or even
snacking,
obsessing over a crush at school.
Absolutely.
I've seen that a bunch.
Yes.
Where people will take those little moments that person said to them and they feed off of that. That's what their confidence is.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose the track of doing it for ourselves and chasing that dopamine, we can definitely lose a lot of the confidence that we built up. Even I, for example, like, I would say like a few years ago, I liked this boy in class, and he would talk to me, and that was my dopamine for the day. It doesn't matter what he said to me, but I liked him, and that was my dopamine for the day. And if he didn't show up for school that day, I was sad because I didn't get the dopamine, and my brain started to crave it every day, that small thing, and it took over me. It took over my happiness and my emotions. And when things like that are starting to take over your emotions, that's when you kind of have to step back and be like, hey, this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
This is not healthy. And I had to grieve my crush, grieve my 8th grade crush over just something so small. But what I mean by that is it's just kind of a reminder of small things can be big things, even small things like that. And
I think
I never did anything. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I never liked those. I never liked those people, I guess, in intentions for me. I liked it for the intention of them. Yeah.
No, you're fine. Going back to that, you're talking about that dopamine.
Yes, the dopamine.
I will say, honestly, I don't drink coffee anymore, and I used to thrive on coffee in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And now I find my dopamine in slow mornings, no coffee, and journaling.
Yes.
So it's small things.
Dopamine does not mean finding an addiction. Definitely not. Doesn't mean getting addicted to something, but it definitely means you can use your dopamine in healthy ways.
Yeah.
There's healthy, our brains sometimes have to relearn it when we get too intertwined with our crushes at school. But that's something I really had to do, is sit down and teach my brain to give me those happy chemicals over just relaxing in the morning. Cause that's just something.
It's something else too, as a mom, like shopping. Yeah.
Shopping.
Say goodbye to your dollars.
Yeah.
But no, I did. I used to have a little bit of a shopping addiction, so I had to I had to relearn that.
Yeah. Not to call anybody out, but I know a few people who have some shopping addictions in my life.
Yes.
And I had to be like, hey, you might have to calm down on the shopping
Yes.
addictions. But yeah, once you start acknowledging like the little things that you love and you start to like slowly love yourself and the little things that you do in your routine. Routine's big for me too. That helps with the dopamine a lot, because I don't think that's talked about enough. A lot with the addictive personality disorder, it's so easy to find those little things to be active about in my brain. But that's where I have to sit back and reteach my brain that a daily routine is enough to make me happy. That's what I need, honestly, just a daily routine. But with resilience, I kind of pride myself in resilience, but I also have to like bring myself down a notch, because it's definitely something I need to work on. I'm pretty good at, when I take a hit, I can, feel the emotions and let myself get back up. And it's definitely gotten easier, but I still struggle with like sometimes when I fail at something, or if I get rejected or something like that, I still have trouble. Learning how to see my value in those things. I still have trouble learning how to see my value in when something is hard. When everything, even right now, I feel like everything's coming at me right now, and that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. But what's different about it is I'm not freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I spiral, and I'll talk to my mom, and it's just like, whoa, how did you get there in the matter of 4 minutes when only one thing happened? It's like, that was crazy. And that's what I mean. Like when those hard seasons happen, what's different now is I can think like, hey, that one thing happened. It doesn't mean what my brain is assuming it means. That's my biggest problem, is learning how to go through those potholes better, how to get out of those potholes better.
Not letting your brain be on autopilot.
Yeah.
Taking control of it.
Taking control, using logic instead of emotion. That's one thing I liked was my close cousin. She's a recovery addict or a recovery coach, not addict. Sorry. She likes to say, you always need to take your feelings out of the facts.
Mm-hmm.
You need to separate them, look at them for how it is, and that's your conclusion. And you need to take your feelings and kind of put it out the door, because most of the time the feelings are what's going to sabotage you. And that's what sabotages me sometimes, is like feelings or the spiral. But definitely taking the facts out of the feelings is something I have to remind myself to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to setbacks too, I've gotten a lot better at the setbacks, but when I'm like, it's kind of goes along with the dopamine when you're going and going and going, and it's kind of with gambling, like you get a hit and you get a hit and you get a hit, and then you don't. And then sometimes it's just like, how do I deal with that? Because you get all this good and then you get the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's like frightening.
It is,
because it can be intimidating too, because especially someone who overthinks, it's like I could take that one thing and overthink it probably about 50 times. But that's when I also have to say, like, hey, I had 3 hits. And I'm not saying to start gambling. Like, I'm not trying to justify a gambler's brain, but I'm saying, like,
I had 3 good things.
You did 3 good things. That one failure is not a failure, it's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you got to look at it. Nothing I see that I do is a failure, it's a learning experience. And once I started looking at myself that way, life got a lot easier, and I didn't put those negative thoughts on myself so much.
Yeah,
definitely. Do you have anything else you would like to add? you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so, other than, you don't have to earn your worth. I know we talked about that last
Mm-mm.
week and you already have it. Your children are listening how you talk to yourself, especially if you talk out loud to yourself.
And how you talk to other people too.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes. So, show them, I would say, show your children what it looks like to love someone who's still learning, because even as an adult, as a mom, like, we're still learning and we're still having to love our significant others while they're still learning. So,
Oh, for sure. And one thing I really encourage everyone to do is, I know everyone's not at that point where they can maybe scream out the top of their lungs that they love themselves. Not everyone's at that point. Sometimes I'm not at that point either. But even if you can't necessarily do it for you, encourage others, or not. I encourage others into recognizing what their worth is as well. Don't ignore yourself, but just think of others as well this week. And I wanted to end it off with a quote from the Bible that I really liked. It says, "I praise you because I am fearful and wonderfully made." And that means that your value isn't something you earn, it's something God already placed in you. When you know that, it changes how you love, how you make choices, how you bounce back, how you lift others up. You stop chasing the approval and start walking in confidence. Not because of what you do, but because of who God says you are. I loved that quote. It was very direct. And it's my point of this whole week, this whole 4 weeks. And I encourage you to even go back and rewatch some of this stuff if you're feeling low, because this information is information that lives on with everybody forever, that everyone has to start off with. So if you ever need to go back and listen to that information, I highly encourage you to. Next week, we will be starting on boundaries, which I'm excited for because I could talk forever about boundaries. I bet Gabby could too.
Yes.
On mother aspect, but I want to end it off with encouraging everyone to also ask a question in our Q&A for Q&A Wednesdays at hopeandanswers.com, and we will answer them on Wednesdays at 4:30 to 5:30. So if that's everything, I hope everyone enjoyed today. Today ran a little bit later, but I will see you next week for week 5.